Merry Christmas, everyone. It's a very stormy one with a Christmas blizzard over the north central United States, bringing heavy snowfall and ice concerns there. We've also got heavier showers and storms in the southeastern United States. I've got the details on the snow, the ice, the rain, as well as the new pattern that the system initiates. All that in this video. Hope everyone is having a Merry Christmas and has been safe so far. Now, we've got the blizzard warnings expanding. That's the red color over parts of South Dakota, central and northern Nebraska, as well as even parts of northwestern Kansas getting in on that. We've got ice storm warnings that have been added into parts of eastern Dakotas, so northeastern South Dakota, southeastern parts of North Dakota. So this is really an active system. Winter weather advisories surrounding this. So we're going to have blowing snow. We're going to have ice concerns now, possible over half an inch of ice in eastern parts of the Dakotas. So this system is really becoming dynamic already. Your midday radar as I'm filming this video showing snowfall already increasing in parts of eastern South Dakota as well as parts of eastern Nebraska. Of course, ice along that dividing line. And then we've also got some showers and storms back on down towards the south and east. By the way, if you enjoy getting quick updates that are accurate and easy to understand when events like this occur, please hit that subscribe button to help not only me support the channel, but to help you get that weather information. Now, let's go ahead and get right into this future radar. You can see as we make our way through the rest of our Christmas, of course, if you didn't wake up to a white Christmas, turning white over parts of the Dakotas, as well as parts of Nebraska by this afternoon, we've got the southerly push coming out, kind of moving through parts of Iowa as well as Minnesota, and that's why we have that dividing ice line with some sleet, really causing some big issues there in the parts of eastern Dakotas, as well as far northern Minnesota as we make our way through the rest of today. Otherwise, just heavy rain into parts of the other areas of the Midwest. Again, into parts of the Dakotas, though, places like Pierre, South Dakota. Look at how heavy the snow gets into the evening hours once the sun goes down. Of course, not that the sun was ever seen today anyway, right? As cloudy as it is. We start to see ice progress towards the west. Even some rainfall progressing into parts of South Dakota that started out with some ice and snowfall there. So really interesting to see how the system progresses, but look at how the snow continues to really be heavy now into parts of western South Dakota, the panhandle of Nebraska, even parts of the eastern Rockies getting on some heavy snow into the morning hours on our Tuesday. Notice that rain filtering into parts of South Dakota, but again, it's really that ice line that is going to be so dangerous here. We're going to have wind gusts 40, 50 miles per hour. This system just so dynamic in a way that was unexpected originally. And look at how this snowfall begins wrapping back around the system into our Tuesday morning. Some light snowfall flurries into parts of northern Missouri, northern Iowa. But look at how the pinks fill in into parts of North Dakota, especially at this point. This is where we could really see the ice storm ongoing into our Tuesday morning over pretty much the entire southeastern half of the state. Some ice trying to filter in and kind of settle in on top of that snowfall into other parts of South Dakota and Nebraska as well through the rest of our Tuesday. Meanwhile, we've got snowfall still kind of sinking on under this system, which is going to be stationed over parts of northwestern Iowa at this point. Snowfall and some even heavier rainfall bands kind of pushing through parts of Missouri. Kansas City, Missouri could pick up some very quick and heavy snowfall into our Tuesday night going into our Wednesday as snowfall continues, and I think it's going to be mainly snow with no ice concerns here. Overall, into parts of especially the panhandle of Nebraska, no real changeover in that region. Now moving on to the wind gusts here, we're going to have the low pressure centered over parts of Missouri as we go through the rest of our Christmas here. But again, it's moving northward into that Iowa region later on. But for now, we've got wind gusts pushing through parts of the mid-south, moving southeast to northwest. Wind gusts coming directly out of the north over parts of the northern plains, and that's why we have the blizzard concerns. Look at how those wind gusts continue to pick up. Anywhere you're seeing those reds, the grayish shades, and then some of even the embedded pinks here into parts of South Dakota and Nebraska. This is why we have blizzard warnings up. Wind gusts exceeding 45 miles per hour for an extended period of time throughout the rest of our Christmas into our nighttime as well. Some gusts closer to 55, 60 miles per hour. It will be breezy as well in some of the rainfall that pushes through the Midwest, but again, it's this northerly push that's going to continue to bring really heavy snowfall as well as those gusty winds through parts of even the panhandle of Nebraska. Some of these gusts into the nighttime tonight going into our early Tuesday morning, pushing up against the Rockies as well. Some of these could be closer to 60, even 65 miles per hour at the higher end. Notice how some of those gusts will actually try to kind of sink under and around the system again as that cold air also does so. And we'll see some wind gusts try to proceed into parts of Missouri. And as it does really do so, we're going to see some 30, 40 mile per hour wind gusts heading to that area. Again, that's as that low pressure system is now further north and that cold air and that wind is wrapping back around. So again, it might not be quite as dynamic of a storm at this point, but still some gusty winds and lingering effects as we make our way towards the midweek time frame. Your forecast snowfall. This is from the National Weather Service now. Some spots obviously have already been picking up snow. Remember, this is before any sort of ice or rain changeover occurs, but many spots, especially in southern South Dakota and northern Nebraska, will pick up up on a solid 8 to 12 inches of snowfall. Locally higher amounts up to around 1.5 feet. I'm sure some of those will get in the mix. And then in southern Nebraska and northern Kansas, northeastern parts of Colorado, some spots picking up anywhere from 4 to 8 inches of snow, although it's looking like 2 to 4 inches is going to be more likely in most areas. And this only goes through Wednesday early morning, so I think we will pick up an inch of snow into some parts of Iowa and Missouri as that cold air wraps back around. That will be on the higher end, though. This is what's really concerning to me, though. It's the ice over parts of southeastern North Dakota, northeastern South Dakota. Some spots picking up 1/4 to 1/2 inch of ice accretion. You're talking this is enough to cause, glazes on trees, and well more than a glaze in many areas. Slippery roadways, very dangerous travel into our Tuesday. If you can, stay off the roadways, and if possible, do so, because there's not only going to be the low visibility as the snowfall and ice falls, but even afterwards, with the ice still on the ground, especially into even parts of northern Minnesota, this will be causing big issues. We'll see power outages, and of course slippery roadways. So just, not anything good for travel, that's for sure. Now we also have the southern and eastern end of the system bringing future radar here up on the screen. You can see we've got rainfall and some storms in this. Our flood risk as we make our way through the rest of our Christmas and into our Tuesday is going to really bank up against Appalachia and North Georgia, northwestern South Carolina, as well as parts of, say, Asheville, North Carolina. Some flooding concerns as well as higher wind concerns there as some of this rainfall banks up against the slopes. But through the rest of our Christmas, rainfall pushing through parts of the Midwest, some of this heavier at times, with some of the embedded gusty winds that I showed you earlier. Some of those wind gusts could be upwards of 40 miles per hour along this line of some showers and storms. A little bit less in the wind department further on off towards the south. Again, it's mainly a flooding concern here up against Appalachia. It's just those higher slopes here where we're really going to see some of the gusts pick up. Parts of Kentucky, parts of southern Indiana into the evening hours of our Christmas here. Wouldn't be shocked if we briefly saw some rumbles of thunder, maybe even some gusty winds in some of these storms. Those look to kind of fall into tatters into the overnight hours, though, or into the evening at least. And then over Appalachia, the rain just continues pouring on down, even as we make our way into our Tuesday morning, which is why, again, we're really worried about the flood concern there, especially parts of Ohio getting in on some rain, some showers pushing their way on up through parts of Michigan as well as Wisconsin early on your Tuesday morning. Notice still pouring quite hard here around Greenville, South Carolina, on up through Hickory there in North Carolina. Reading off some of these cities for you there, some of the heavier showers and storms will be kind of rebuilding and persisting over this area as some new low pressure actually tries to develop over this area. Through the rest of our Tuesday afternoon, it stays kind of showery and stormy there in the Carolinas as well as Virginia. We'll also have a light band of some showers into parts of Pennsylvania. Everything's going to continue to make its way on off towards the north and east, and by the time we're making our way into our Wednesday early morning, look at how the rainfall begins to pick up. Wouldn't be shocked if we saw some flood concerns into parts of West Virginia, Washington, D.C. even, but especially parts of Buffalo, New York, as well as Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Those areas really looking to see rainfall pick up. No snowfall out of the system into, parts of the Northeast. Not even really looking to see much lake effect snowfall, if at all, at the back end of the system. And I'll show you how that plays out in just a second. But rainfall, overall, the heaviest rainfall is going to move again through North Georgia, the Carolinas there. Some spots picking up closer to 2 to 4 inches in those red colors. A lot of spots, though, heading on off towards the Northeast, at least about an inch of rain. That's going to be a good average for many areas along the East Coast. Although some spots will pick up a little bit less or a little bit more. So just find your town, obviously, on that map. Now, again, the low pressure system, by the time we're making our way into the Wednesday morning time frame, quite decrepit, quite weak over parts of western Missouri. Just a little snow band trying to push into southern Illinois overnight into our Thursday morning. But we'll also have that rainfall in the northeast and New England at that time, with the northwest flow beginning to sink around. Hard to see on your screen, but there are blue lines indicating where cooler air is sinking around the systems, and that's where this cold front's going to be setting up at this point, that black line I just drew. Notice here that low pressure system, since it's a cutoff piece of energy, kind of in the upper levels, we're going to see this little swirl of some snowfall try to make its way on down through central Kentucky, central Tennessee, as we make our way into our Friday morning. Maybe some brief flurries in a place like Nashville, Tennessee, Knoxville, Tennessee. Some of these areas could briefly pick up on some light snowfall into the morning. But overall, it's just looking like cool air will begin to take over behind the system, and that's why our temperature anomaly map looks like this as we make our way towards our Friday, December 29th, looking quite a bit below average, especially along the Gulf Coast and into Florida, as some colder air is really going to sink that far south. Of course, with El Nino, though, overall warmer than average in the north, and that trend continues. And as we make our way towards the first week of January, this is really interesting. It's looking like with ensemble models, which is just a collection of different models, the Euro-based ensembles is what I especially consulted for this forecast, a little bit below average on the southern corridor of the U.S. continuing. And this extends all the way on up into parts of the Midwest, parts of southern New England, and that's why I would watch out for increased snow potential if we can get systems to make their way on through that region, especially during the first week of January as we ring in that new year. And this is the forecast snowfall totals. Overall, this is the mean of a bunch of different models here, the Euro ensembles through the first week of January. And look at how some of those totals, we've got blues indicating a few inches of snow as far south as parts of Kentucky, parts of Virginia, and some heavier snowfall through parts of New England. So we'll have to see if this really pans on out, but I don't want to jump to conclusions. I'm not going to be making any crazy thumbnails about this right now, but certainly we could be worried about something coming up. I'm down the line with some more snowstorms, and of course, for those of you who love snow, could be good. But Merry Christmas, everyone. Have a good one.